In this video, we're going to look at solving simultaneous equations via substitution. Now let's talk about what we're doing. Looking over here on a graph, there are two lines, this one, and they meet at one point. This coordinate has an x value and a y value, and we can see there that it's 1 minus 1. That means solving two simultaneous equations involving finding a solution that satisfies both of these equations. So I'm going to show you how to do this via substitution. Now the substitution method is usually used when at least one of the equations has one variable as the subject. So I'll just write down an example. So I've written the example here. Let's call this one the first equation and this one the second equation. And what we can see here is both of these equations are equal to y. So by substituting one equation into the other, in this case because they're both equal to y, we can put them equal to each other. We can then solve for one of the variables. Once we know one of the variables, either x or y, we can then substitute that solution in to find the other variable. Solving simultaneous equations means finding the x and the y value. Alright, so let's go in and do this example that's written up here then. So I've just briefly written something down there, welcome to copy that. We're going to solve these two pairs of simultaneous equations using substitution. So to begin with, I call the first equation that's written down equation 1, and then the second equation number 2. This means I can communicate my answers really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute equation 1 into equation 2. So I write down what I'm going to do. So I'm going to sub 1 into 2. Okay? And by subbing 1 into 2, because this is equal to y and this is equal to y, that just means putting the two equations equal to each other. So minus 3x plus 2 is equation 1 equals equation 2, which is 7x minus 8. Now what we have is an equation now formed in terms of the variable x only. So it's just a case of solving the equation as normal. You can show you're working down the right hand side if you wish, if that's what you're used to doing. Otherwise, by this point we know what we're doing. So I'm going to first of all look at my x's, add 3x to both sides, so I get 2 left on that side and 10x minus 8 on that side. Then I'm going to add the 8 to both sides, leave me with 10 equals 10x. Now to find x, I'm going to divide by 10, giving me x equals 1. That gives me the x. Now, to find the y, I'm just going to substitute that back into one of these. Now, it doesn't matter whether you choose equation 1 or equation 2. I'm going to choose equation 1. So I'm going to sub x equals 1 into 1. And then just do that. So equation 1 I'll write down again. It's y equals minus 3x plus 2. And I'm going to sub this in. So I get y equals minus 3 times 1. Plus 2. Work that out. Minus 3 times 1 is negative 3 plus the 2. Leave me with y equals minus 1. Now I just summarize my solution and say, therefore, the point at which they equal each other, these two equations, or the point at which they meet, is when x is 1 and y is minus 1. And on to our second example. So we can see I've got two equations here. Label them, equation 1 and equation 2. Now, sometimes you may have to rearrange. I don't need to in this case. We can see that equation 2 is just y equals. So I'm going to substitute equation 2 into 1. Okay, so ideally you have one of the equations that's equal to one of the variables, and that is the one that you substitute into the other equation. And it makes it called substitution. So I'm going to sub that in. So let's write down equation 1, 2x minus 3. Now at this point I'm going to put y as x plus 3 because I'm subbing this whole thing in for anywhere that I see y. So I'm going to put a bracket there, x plus 3 equals negative 8. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is expand. Once I've expanded, I'm then going to have an equation to solve. Okay, so let's expand. I've got 2x minus 3x minus 9 equals negative 8. Simplify the left-hand side. 2x minus 3x is minus x. Minus 9 equals minus 8. Now, adding 9 to both sides gives me minus x on the left equals 1 on the right. And then the next thing is I can't have a negative solution, so I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 1 to give me a positive x solution, leaving me with x equals negative 1. Finally, I'm going to substitute x equals negative 1 into equation 2 because that's a nice easy equation to substitute in to find y. So I'm going to write that sub x equals minus 1 into equation 2. Let's do that. So write equation 2 down. I've got I'll just scroll up, y equals x plus 3. And okay, now let's just sub that in. So we've got y equals negative 1 plus 3. So working that one out gives us y equals 2. And don't forget to summarize. So our solution is -1, 2.